Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 20 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. It's 10 a.m. on December the 30th. We are 54 minutes away from the last Gameweek deadline of 2023. A happy new year to all of you. If you want to wish me a happy new year, smash a like while you're here. FPL Team is your best one-stop shop for all your FPL planning. The screen grab you can see of my team is taken from FPL Team's app, and this is how I line up this week. Areola in goal, back three of Pedro Porro, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Gabriel, with a caveat that if there's confirmation that Malo Gusto is starting for Chelsea, then I may play Malo Gusto instead of Gabriel. Midfield five of Saka, Bowen, Bailey, Mo Salah captain, Heung-min Son, vice captain Julian Alvarez and Ollie Watkins. Dominic Solanke is my first sub. I don't recommend that anybody else does that. It's a close call really for me between Solanke and Saka. Pretty brutal. But I've decided to go with the all-in strategies. I've got Porro. Although at the same time I realise Porro's only in my team for the offensive stuff. And as per my predictions, the surprise one you can probably see there is, yes, tipping Bournemouth to beat my team tomorrow at White Hart Lane. Not because I'm absolutely certain that will happen, because I certainly think we can win tomorrow, particularly being at home. But I'd rather go rogue with my predictions if I fancy something, and that's the way I've always done it. Captaincy for me this week, the top 10, Salah, Alvarez, Watkins, Foden. Who else have we got on the top 10 this week? Bowen, Son, Nunes, Trent, Bailey, Saka. To highlight the difficulty of me benching Solanke, I've got 8 of that 10 in my team. So I do feel like I'm very well set up this week, which I should be, having only wildcarded 3 game weeks ago, currently ranked 209,000. So left of me on screen, you'll see those top 10 captaincy picks and the rotation of my correct score predictions for the game week 20 games. The bottom right hand corner, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams. Right at the bottom, you'll see the fixture ticker for the next 5 game weeks. And above that, and below me, the bit that people love to ignore, the benching dilemma screen, where there's 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. I was running order pages 1 to 4 of outfield players, and you'll see some goalkeepers on page 5. That's the graphics taken through. You may well see the answer to your question on screen. I will try and get through as many of your cues as possible before that 11 a.m. deadline. For the avoidance of doubt, in case I didn't say, I am rolling a transfer. The plan for me will be to sell Salah and Son in game week 21. However, let me add this as a caveat for you. Game week 20 doesn't finish till Tuesday. There's the FA Cup third round next weekend, and there's the Carabao Cup semi-final first legs before we get to game week 21, which is spread over 2 weekends. Then there's the Carabao Cup semi-final second legs and the FA Cup fourth round before we get to game week 22. May I recommend to everybody, don't make early transfers in the next month. The information will be way more important. And part of that information over the next month will be the opening of the transfer window, which is obviously important. New players added to the game, players moving clubs. And also we are likely to get some key information on blanks and doubles. Remember, whoever makes the Carabao Cup final, they and their opponents will blank in game week 26. The 3 games on the threat are Chelsea versus Tottenham, Liverpool versus Luton and Manchester United versus Fulham. And we may also get some information on double game weeks. The absolutely biggest game in terms of your FPL planning over the next 5 to 6 game weeks is Arsenal and Liverpool in the FA Cup third round next Sunday. You want to know why? Well, first chip strategy of the pod will be for you on January the 9th, once we've got information on all of the FA Cup results and, importantly, the draw for the fourth round. Right, let's get into your cues. I'll try and smash through as many of these as possible. Andy Max says, hey mate, Merry New Year. Benching headache question, I'm afraid. Need to bench one of Richarlison, Palmer or Solanke. Currently it's Palmer. Right choice. Cheers. Yeah, thumbs up for that, mate. Lin Tian Bao says, hey James, thanks for the great content. The past you have a midfield problem to solve. Who will you buy out of Foden, Bowen and Garnacho? For me, if I didn't own Jared Bowen, I'd be getting on with that. He's going to be massively popular going into game week 21. For anyone who doesn't own and is sitting there with Salah's son, you're going to look at Jared Bowen playing Sheffield United in game week 21 and want to get on with it. Remember, Brighton pretty decimated themselves defensively this week. That's why Bowen, I'm surprised I've not seen anyone talk about Bowen captaincy this week, because there's a lot of variation, which is nice to see. Not seen anyone talk about Bowen. Brighton have Dunk suspended. Julio is a major doubt. Webster's injured. Veltman's injured. They literally could go into this weekend with one fit centre-back, Jan-Paul van Heck, and only one recognised full-back, and that's Purvis Estupiñán. He might even have to play centre-back this week. JP says, hi mate, happy new year for Monday. Thank you, you too. Best upside player to get for Dunk. 4th defender on Sky. Wouldn't bother, mate. Let it go. Let it go. I'm still sitting there with Haaland, mate. Like, it's over Hall on Wednesday. Wouldn't bother, mate. There's nothing that's upside enough unless you're really fucked for a day with no captaincy. That's the only reason to make a transfer at this stage. Let it go. Ludwig says, morning, James. Have 2 free transfers and struggling to choose between Gabriel to Estupiñán and bench for Gusto, or 4.4 to Alvarez and bench Odegaard, Palmer. Preference. Both would allow Haaland without a hit next week. So Gabriel to Estupiñán, I wouldn't make that move. Not at the moment. Let's have a look a little bit more, right? He's played 45 minutes. I know he scored a worldie and everyone's got well excited. I'd calm down. He's a good one for wildcarders, I think. I think for those buying, unless you've got real defensive problems, I certainly wouldn't bring Gabriel to Estupiñán. Gabriel's got Fulham, Palace, Nottingham Forest the next 3. It's pretty good. So the preference would be the Alvarez one, which I'm going to guess just having... for this week, it probably won't matter, but coming up for the future weeks, having a bit of a stronger team might be pretty helpful. Aaron Hill says, hi James, start 2 of Colwell, Estupiñán, Gusto and Gabriel. Cheers and thank you for the amazing content this week. So off of that, Estupiñán's probably got to start, to caveat what I've just said. I have an inkling that Gusto won't start, but I'd still start him over Colwell. Gabriel would be the definite for me there at the moment. I think if I knew Gusto was going to play today, I'd say Gabriel and Gusto, to be honest. Then Estupiñán, then Colwell. MRCX says, hey James, Bernardo Silva and Estupiñán, plus enough money in the bank to get back Haaland or Bruno Fernandes, plus Kyle Walker, plus not enough money in the bank to get Haaland back in one transfer. Jesus, mate, it's a lot going on now. Yeah, I know a few people turn their nose up at Bernardo Silva. I actually don't mind that as a shout at all, actually. I'm not keen on Bruno Fernandes as an option, so there'll be your answer, mate. JP says start Konsa or Gabriel and Palmer or Saka. So it'd be Saka over Palmer, Konsa over Gabriel. MRCX says, do I bench Solanke over Bailey, Palmer, Odegaard for game week 20? It's probably Palmer from that for me. I'd play Solanke over Odegaard as well, I think. Dragon Josiowski says 2 free transfers with 13 good players. Upgrade Lamptey to Estupiñán, got Colwell, or Nakamba to Garnacho Souček. Would bench the player this game and likely play him next game with cheers. I spoke very highly of Garnacho's game with 21 prospects yesterday. The caveat to that would be, of course, that it's 2 weeks away. Mickey van der Ven might be back and Tottenham might buy someone before the game comes around. They'll probably get thrown straight in as well, which will leave a little bit of unpredictability for that fixture. I quite like Garnacho as an option at the moment, so I'm going to say that, mate. JP says, are Bissouma and Sarr off to AFCON? How will it affect Spurs, do you think? Will it hinder attack defence? It goes without saying, and the answer is yes. Tommy Gonzo says, also bench one of Trent, Porro, Saliba, Gabriel. Saliba. James Brennan says, hi James, Gordon to Foden with 1-3 or just roll. Cheers, mate, and I hope you had a great Christmas. Well, the roll here needs to caveat, right? So, I don't know if you got Salah or Son. If you haven't got both, it's a definite. If you've got both, you need to know that it's probably a -4 to move the 2 players on next week. If that's what you're choosing to do, you may be choosing to keep one for value purposes. On the face of it, for me, James, yeah, get it done. Subhertz blog says, hi James, do I start Estupiñán or Saliba or Semenyo? Cheers. Looks like I should have put Estupiñán on the bench in dilemmas by the looks of this. I should have realised the intention to get that player back because Brighton have kept so many clean sheets this season. But we only get defenders for attacking stuff, we know. As I said, though, I think it's it's a possibility he might play centre-back this week. That could be the case. I would... Saliba, I think. Yeah, just about, I think. Just about. Vivek Gore says, hi James, I know it's kind of early, but who would you prefer to get in place of Salah or Son out of Bowen? I don't need to read the others, mate. MRCX has really got benching headaches this week. I miss the all-out attack chip. I said this on our Patreon stream yesterday. I said if it still existed, I would play it this week. Definitely. Gabriel would be on the bench to start Solanke. Is it mental to go with Bernardo Silva, Foden and Julian Alvarez? No, of course it's not, mate. It could pay great this week. You got to ask yourself, do you want to look at those 3 players next week away to Newcastle? That's what you got to ask yourself. In from Melbourne says, evening James, no question from me this week. Just a reminder, it's free to hit the like button, guys. Good luck for the game week and up the shrimperoos. Nice to see that they've had their transfer embargo finally lifted, mate. Happy New Year to you, pal. Azra Khan says, hi James, hope you're well, mate. I have to bench one player out of the following: Gay, Eze and Diaby. Keep up the good work. I'd play the 2 attacking players as it stands, mate. JP says, do you think Newcastle can park the bus versus Liverpool like Man U did and keep a clean sheet? Or should I start Areola over Dubravka? Can they? Yeah, but I'd start Areola, mate. Stevie J10 says, hi James, 2 free transfers. I want Bowen. Would you bring him in this week for Son? Yeah, I had this question from a patron yesterday, and we probably concluded that in that scenario, yes. Unbelievably, the answer would probably be yes. A really tough one to sell Sonny this week. But I used the reference of considering outcome bias, right? So let's say you do it and, Son outscores Bowen this week. It's fairly probable. Then at least you're set up right for next week. If it goes the other way and Bowen outscores Son, you'd be thinking, I wish I'd done that. So either way, you're better set for next week. That's a guarantee. I'd probably, only on the circumstance like you say, where you've got the 2 free transfers, I would do it. Emily Sissoni says, hey James, team value is 103.4. Yeah, I'm still wildcarding with 10.1 million in the bank. Is that crazy? And who would you start out? Palmer, Garnacho and Estupinan. From that lot, probably Palmer. The money in the bank is obviously going to be part of a process to get you back to presumably players that you're going without now. So it's fine, Emily. Scosme says, what's going on with Cash? Is he injured or not? Any chance he starts today? Well, yeah, there is. I don't think he will, by the way, because I think Ezri Konsa will play right back. But look, I and many others will have seen him walking off against Sheffield United after he got booked in the last minute, holding his arm, like trying to lock his shirt up to it as if like he was in huge pain. But the word is that he's trained. So apparently yes. Which I'm very surprised about, I must say. Billy Taylor says, howdy Jimbo. Bournemouth have the lowest expected goals conceded and goals conceded since November 24. So the question is, do I bench Son or Richarlison? Not keen on benching Palmer or Solanke instead. I'd bench both before the Tottenham players. Despite my prediction, yeah, I would play the 2 Tottenham players, honestly. And Richarlison should get more minutes this week, considering Kulusevski's suspended as well. So he may even get the full 90. So yeah, with the home fixture, the thing is that I think Bournemouth could beat us, as predicted. But is it beyond reason that, like, we put a good few through them? On the XGC for Bournemouth, yeah, it's great, but also needs the caveat, right? They've probably had the best run of fixtures over that period, near enough. So you haven't had a fixture like Tottenham away during this period. So I would, honestly, as per the benching dilemmas, I would still play the Tottenham players. JP says, how do you decide to clash the correspondence schedule? Always wondered, lol. Well, look, it's to give everybody a chance, and everybody comes on equally. It's not going to be exact spread across the season, but most of the guys will come on sort of 5 times during the season. And it's about getting the stuff on that I think is relevant at the time. So I can tell you the next 5 now. Actually, no, I won't tell you the next 5 because I haven't told all the guys. But I'd say the next 2 ahead of Game Week 21 will be Bournemouth versus Liverpool with Neil Grover and Dan Lord this week. And then the following Monday podcast rather than a Tuesday, because as I said, we're going to wait till we've got all the FA Cup information for the main pod on the Tuesday. Will be Chelsea versus Fulham with Gary Mantle and Zara Cohen. And I know the schedule for Game Week 22 and 23, but I'm not going to say it now because I haven't had time to tell the guys yet. But yeah, it's in the pipeline. I always try and make it relevant. So let's be honest, when the shit clubs have got, It's either get them on when they've got a good opponent who's got a good run, or when they've got a good run themselves. The consciousness of obviously potential doubles, etc., etc. So, yeah, the schedule up to Christmas was all done for all of it in pre-season based on the fixtures, to be honest. Steve says, hi James, I'm on wildcard and need to go a bit different to try and catch up. Would you start Estupinan, Gross or Palmer today, please? Palmer. Sam Cree says, Palmer, Richarlison, Solanke, bench 1, Palmer. Can I just say to everybody though, all these that I keep saying Palmer to, I had to answer this a lot and say Palmer when Chelsea played Sheffield United and he got 14 points, so please bear that in mind. Greatest Maths says, hi James, is Trent a must on wildcard? No one's a must, mate, when you can have Porro, Walker and Estupinan with Gusto back up. Cheers for Nkunku rogue shout over Solanke next 3. No, I wouldn't. I haven't got Nkunku in my predicted Chelsea lineup today. I think he probably played Wednesday night out of necessity, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's a substitute today. So no, still Solanke at the moment for me. I get the want for City defenders, and I think a clean sheet run will come. But do look at Walker's returns this season. And I know he's playing like every game, and there's always a want to have a Manchester City defender. But is it necessary? He's not going to hurt not having one. Put it that way as well. So look, if I was wildcarding now, must, you know me, I hate it. I hate the must and essential mentality. But he would definitely be in it for me, Trent. Vivek Gore says, Lascelles replacement of 0.4 in the bank. Walker, Gusto, Saliba and Taylor as my other defenders. You can't get the Pedro there. Maybe Diego Carlos. Timing might be quite nice. I'm just thinking as well, like if Gusto doesn't play, you don't really want Charlie Taylor, I don't think, away to Aston Villa. I mean, Gusto will play, will get on the pitch, even if he's a substitute. Diego Carlos might solve your problem there, maybe. I'm just having a scan through some teams. Yeah, that might be the right one for you. Might be. Pushcart says, hello James, happy holidays mate, just got a question of Shimikas. He's still my bench and would need a -4 to get rid. What's the news on him? I already have getting Trent for Trippier. What to do? So it's a broken clavicle, which is like collarbone for Shimikas. The timeline's not been put, but it's gonna be long, mate. It's gonna be really long. He might not play for a few months, so it's a definitive sell. Again, no, does it need to be a -4 now? Those who are like got situations like that, what you got to factor in is, and I had this one yesterday was talking about for FPL team actually, one he was looking at, and it was a really difficult one because it's one we think we should probably push it back a week. But if you're going into next week and you think, well, I need to sell Salah and Son next week, right? What's this going to become? Like a -8 headache that's never going to go away. So it might be one you just need to deal with and go, nah, he's got to go. Frederick Hertz says, want Trippier out but don't know where to go. Not allowed to go Porro, mini league rules. Currently starting Trent, Gabriel and Dalot, so I guess I can afford to wait and see. What looks attractive? Well, everyone else seems to think Purvis is stupid now, mate, which I don't have a huge problem with, by the way. So that's on the agenda now. Gusto, I think longer term, he's a good pickup, even though I have doubts about him starting today. Ezri Konsa is probably the safest player at Villa, but I'd be very tempted to punt Alex Moreno at the moment. But Luca Dean's injury, although it's probably going to be sort of close to a month, means he might only miss 2 games, so it might be short term. I think Moreno's a great punt. Cantonia says, hi James, thanks for the content. Should I bench Garnacho or Solanke? Garnacho. Frederick Hertz says, good game it to you and to you too, Frederick. Ali Bismo says, hi James, hope you're well. Who's the best Salah downgrade when he goes to AFCON out of Jota? But it's just Bowen, mate. Bowen's going to be my answer for this. Honestly, for people who are selling Salah and Son next week and don't have Jared Bowen, I don't know how you're going to avoid it next week. I really, really don't. So it's Jared Bowen for me, mate. Frederick says, bench one of Bailey, Palmer and Solanke. With reluctance, it's going to be Cole Palmer again. My wife's on wildcard and I didn't have time to look at her team. Oh, hate that. Hate that. Hate that. Hate that. I just don't like her defence. It's not terrible. You put Joachim Anderson in. I don't like that. Even though I fancied him for a clean sheet this week. FA11J1 says, hi James, Zinchenko to Trent, 1-3 transfer playing Gabriel. Yeah, can't argue that, mate. Bertica says, hey James, bench one of Bowen, Solanke or Sterling. Appreciate the help throughout the season, mate. God, that's rough. Definitely not Bowen. I'll be honest, I didn't put Sterling on the bench in dilemmas because I didn't think anyone would ask that. I didn't think, I just, certainty that he's going to play today, you would think. He's such a frustrating prick, though. I'll play Solanke, I think. Frederick has got bench one of Bailey, Palmer, Solanke. It's going to be Palmer. Sean says, morning, James. Starting Gabriel over Cash this week. The right call, isn't it? Probably because I think Matthew Cash, doesn't start, but he could well do. Frederick says, what do you think of Captain Bernardo this week? Look, I said earlier, I don't mind him as an option. I know there's been a bit of slander about that. I think where he's playing at the moment, he's a good option. Captaincy, I wouldn't be so keen. Just purely because it's not impossible that he could play a deeper role, right? You'd hate that. I don't think he will, but he could do. Jonathan says, afternoon, on wildcard, few last-minute decisions. Walker, Moreno or Gabriel. If I was on wildcard, I'd go Moreno. And Palmer or Garnacho, cheers. Palmer, but with the caveat on that to say, it does that difference in money. Because I looked at something, because I'm going to be looking at these two players next week myself. With the caveat of, is that difference in money going to be really important? And if so, I would just go Garnacho. LP says, morning James, would you prioritise bringing in Bowen or Foden this week, thinking medium term? All the best for the game week and a happy new year, cheers. It'd still be Bowen, mate, personally. Schnapp says, worth benching Odegaard to bring in Foden, thanks. I don't hate that, because Odegaard's going to look great in your team next week as well, I should imagine. Pushkar says, who should our eyes be on from Liverpool when Salah is away? How do you assess them without Mo? With difficulty. Trent will be the top pick. Klopp said in midweek that basically Nunez, Diaz, Jota and Gakpo would basically be rotated, and it would always be highly likely be 3 from 4, right? And he'll get rotated, and he'll just dish out the rest as and when he can, basically. So if you're looking over a little period here, the chance of you being lucky and having someone that starts all the league games, well, that's very unpredictable because of the amount of cup games, right? I think Nunez and Jota are both options, though. I would say Diaz, I'm less keen. Gakpo, less keen. Jota, I don't know. There's something telling, and I've not done any historical research on this, but I do feel like at key moments when they've needed players to step up and score goals, i.e. in periods where Salah's been unavailable, it feels like he's done well. I've got something nagging in me from January a couple of years ago where he did quite well. Now, also as a caveat, he's just come back from injury. But I think if I had to pump one of them Liverpool attackers right now, it probably would be Jota. But there's a big risk in that. And of course, as he's just come back from injury, he's the one that's most likely to be rotated most often almost as well. Sheriff says, hi mate, if Cash is starting, who to bench out of Cash, Gabriel, Porro, Gordon? Well, unless you've got some information I haven't. Gordon this week. I'd probably bench Gordon, personally. Yeah. Gavin Richardson says, happy belated Christmas, James, to you too. Hope Science emptied his sack down your chimney and that you had fun. This year I will give you a like. Smash a like, y'all. Thank you, Gavin. Yeah, smash a like, please, people. We're at about 10% of you, roughly. A bit more. I can't do maths anymore. Yeah, it's about 20% of you smash a like. Don't cost anything, guys. MRCX is Bailey, Palmer, Garnacho, Souček as 5th midfielder. I wouldn't invest new in Bailey now. Like, I'm starting him, and I even think he's a captaincy option that's so rogue this week. I really do. I couldn't be benching him. That was my take, personally. Would I buy him at this minute? No, I think the moment's possibly gone in terms of looking further ahead and knowing we're going to be missing some other key players over future weeks. And I'm going to need him, but he's going to be expendable, and his fitness is always dubious. So, again, it's the same answer as what I just gave for someone else. Palmer, Garnacho. How important's the money? Palmer the preference, but how important's the difference in money? MJ says, what do you think of Pickford as an option in FPL? Yeah, look, I don't hate it. He's like 4.4 or so. But Everton's fixtures up till the FA Cup quarter final in Gameweek 29 aren't great. They're not great at all. I've only got one green fixture in there, which is Crystal Palace at home in Gameweek 25. This is not great. But yeah, he's a reasonable option, mate. The thing is, they'll keep some clean sheets when you don't expect it as well. Ragav says, morning, James. Haaland to Watkins, Solanke, or play Gusto and roll over. No other issues. Happy New Year. Excuse me. Yeah, I would still go and get Ollie Watkins, personally. Ali Bismo says, not so FPL question. What's the best, funniest FPL team name you've seen? Saw two good ones. Life is a Kabore and how has Eddie still got the job? I don't take much notice and these things don't stay in my brain, mate. Borussia teeth. Jock says, blessings, James. I've got Swatkins, Solanke and Profligate Darwin. Who would you swap out for Alvarez to burn 1-2 FTs? Probably wouldn't bother. Mind you, if you've got 2 FTs, then yeah, I would do something. It's madness, but I spoke about this yesterday. I think there's a case to sell Solanke. Not when you look at it, oh my God, it's madness. This week he's on an incredible run. But just their fixtures up to game week 26. Oh, shit. He's a consistent beast. We've seen that now. But you're looking for some upside on stuff, and you got 2 threes. That's probably what I'd do. Because Nunez, I think, is going to be more handy over this little period. That's my take. If you're like sick of him and you can't bear him anymore, fine, sell him. Vivek Gore says, would you do Palmer to Foden for a free transfer? Just to have FOMO for Man City's fixture this week. And Chelsea have been quite wasteful in front of goal and Luton away is tough. But which one would you rather look at next week? Palmer at home to Fulham or Foden at Newcastle? Just second check yourself. Just a dad posting stuff. Hi, James. Got Haaland and 1 free transfer. Roll playing Gordon and Gabriel. Or -4 to get Alvarez and Trent. Head says roll. Hart is fed up of being battered every week and says hit. I mean, if you were to get 2 players in for a hit this week, those 2 would be right near the top, mate. Yeah, the problem is, like, I mean, Trent in for Gabriel for as rough that. Rough. Yeah, bollocks, do it. Dan Cranston says 2 free transfers. Team is all good. Solanke to Alvarez or burn transfer music. Yeah, I would do it. Ayub says, hi James, play 2 of these 3. Solanke, Saka, Palmer. It'd be bench Palmer. Why do people write? It's not a major criticism, but why would you say play 2 of these 3 rather than just bench 1 of? Isn't that easier? David Dobson says on wildcard, do you prefer Martinez and Gabriel or Ray and Konsa, who are 0.7 cheaper? Yeah, you just want to check yourself about that week. Arsenal play Brentford in game week 28. Therefore, the best pairer for him is probably Areola. West Ham have Burnley at home in that way. I know it's miles off, but it might be useful. It might be useful. So, yeah, probably from a money saving perspective, yeah, Raya and Konsa probably. FPL El Haddari says 1 free transfer, Archer to Alvarez, a Dingra to Bowen, Archer to Alvarez and a Dingra to Bernardo for a hit. Okay, so you can't do both of the original 2. Bowen for me. Yeah, it's Alvarez. This could be really short term. With Alvarez, right? Bowen, you're gonna want. I'm fairly certain. So Bowen for me. Zdravko says, hi James. Solanke looks the weakest link in starting 11. I have 1 free transfer. Should I keep him with Morgan Gibbs-White first sub or sell Morgan Gibbs-White for Foden and bench Solanke? Cheers. There's nothing wrong with playing Solanke this week. Let me promise you. There will be a few people out there are captaining him. Arnav says, hey James, hell of a benching headache this week. Bench 1 of Palmer, Douglas, Luiz, Solanke. Yeah, rough one. I'd certainly play Solanke out of those 3. I'd probably play Palmer over Douglas Luiz personally. Avis says, the last deadline stream of 2023. Please ensure to like the stream before asking a question. Thank you, Avis. Says it's the least we can do for James and Suj. Thank you very much, mate. Happy New Year to you. Motto, remember I said 2 years ago that Martinelli was an FPL myth. Look who's laughing now. Well, from my own memory, I feel like Gabriel Martinelli did really well for me in my FPL team last year. So I'm pleased you were right after 2 years, mate. I don't Okay, I'm still laughing with you. Zach Okusi says, hi James, hope you're well. Thoughts on Solanke to João Pedro while on wild card? No, I'd still probably go Solanke, I think. Daniel Tomata, but he's worth keeping an eye on. No doubt about that, João Pedro. Daniel Tomata says, hi James, Saka to Foden or roll. I mean, that's what I've done, right? But it's difficult to contextualise, right? So the thing is as well, Arsenal's fixture is so good coming up, and there's going to be so many other problems. It's almost like just leave him in, right? I can't see if you've got Salah's son, right? And that's really important to the answer to the question. Nat Chapman says, hit the like on the stream if you haven't already. Man deserves it. Cheers, Nat. Happy New Year, mate. Avatanch says, Son to Foden this week for free or roll. It's roll, isn't it? But I have to be very, very honest with you and say I really considered that move. Really considered it. Yeah, that would have been the one for me. If I'd done it this week, would have been, yeah, Salah to Foden. Yeah, some speculation this morning, which doesn't overly shock me, about Tottenham potentially being in talks with Chelsea for Conor Gallagher. That's been reported by DiMarzio. I'm aware that Chelsea are potentially open to selling him. Player doesn't want to leave. Pochettino doesn't want to lose him. That's going to be an interesting one to follow story-wise. And I'm fairly sure Gallagher wouldn't want to go to Tottenham, by the way, either. For the patrons who are watching live, obviously, if we've got any early team news knocking about from reliable sources, please do let me know. It would be very much appreciated, particularly obviously on Chelsea team news as they're the early kickoff. CM Punk, look in my eyes. 2310 says, hey James, how much importance should we give the blanks in 26 and 29 to transfers now? People are getting in gusto, but I've held back because of 26. Yeah, but the difference with Augusto is he's such an enabling price, right? You're probably not going to start him every week anyway, would be my best guess. So I wouldn't be put off getting him at the moment. Similarly, if someone said to me, I want to buy Pedro Porro, Tottenham are likely to blank in 26. Like, would I say, oh, well, it might be a blank in 26. But also might not be. And there's some good fixtures in between for Tottenham, actually. The run from now till basically the FA Cup quarterfinals isn't too bad. So I wouldn't say, don't get him because of that, for example. So I think, like, for now, do what you need to do. Next week, once we've got some information this week, we're really going to start thinking about it, yeah. And we will probably, yes, particularly Liverpool, Chelsea assets, and maybe Tottenham, have to be quite careful. I will again reference last Sunday's the Gameweek 18 review podcast, minutes 14 to 19. Have a listen to them where I explain reasoning why we may not want to jump back to Salah and Son as quickly as we kind of in our minds probably think we do. Vish says, should we save money for the returns of big premium assets? I haven't decided yet. That's the honest answer. I can't bullshit you. It's not impossible for me that I was to sell Son and Salah next week for something like Palmer and Garnacho. It's not impossible. I probably won't. I probably will get someone at sort of the Odegaard range plus one of the cheaper ones. I haven't decided yet. That's the honest answer. And I think how people want to structure and what their plans are. One of my potential plans, by the way, is that I might be going, shit, I'm going to wildcard in Gameweek 25 or Gameweek 27. That's one potential option for me. Which for those who haven't used the bench boost, but I have, might feel a little bit meh, and I get that. So circumstances are important. Ian Parent says, Happy New Year, mate. Thank you for the great content. What's your current thinking on the dates for the two games to be rearranged? So as per my projections on FPL Team, which you can see on the app, if you go to the bottom of the fixtures, you can pop in my projections. Projections are just that, right? They're not like 100%. There's no like percentage given. But I think Gameweek 25 for both is the current thinking. So that's where I think City Brentford's going to go. And I'm fairly confident of that. I would say above 50%. Bournemouth Luton, I'm also penciling in there for Gameweek 25. Now, the confidence in that would be, to be honest with you, more like 15-20%. But I think that's probably the most likely option at the moment. But that would change if Liverpool win at Arsenal at the FA Cup. I told you that game next week is probably the most important in terms of looking forward at the future fixtures. Because I think if Liverpool beat Arsenal, Bournemouth Luton won't go into 25. then it becomes like a free-for-all of where it could be. But I think if Arsenal beat Liverpool in the Cup, then it could be that Bournemouth-Luton goes 25 with City Brentford. That's the current thinking. And with Arsenal being at home in the Cup, they obviously get slight favouritism to go through. Frankie says, do you prefer Trent or Alvarez as a free transfer this week? Trent. Heather says, bench Palmer on Kunku. Christ. And Kunku. Emma says, morning, James. Good morning, Emma. Gabriel Quadarella says, early Chelsea team news. And Kunku, Palmer, Colwell. Like, I don't have it, mate. And what does that mean? Like, they all start, they all bench. Yeah. If you're going to, quote information in here, potentially, give us sources. Murphy says, hi, James. Which transfer shall I make this week? Trippier to Walker and bench Gordon or Darwin to... and bench Gordon. Or Darwin to Alvarez and play Trippier, Gordon. It's one or the other. Alvarez would still be the sacrifice for Haaland later. Yeah, Alvarez. Dave M says, start one of Nunes, Luiz or Solanke. Nunes. Amir Alouche says, morning, James. Are Palmer and Kunku likely to be sharing minutes? Probably today, yeah, but future weeks, they'll both become first choice. Fairly confident of that. Lee Jackson says, don't forget to hit the like button, everyone. Thank you, mate. Is that because Suj sacked you as our Aston Villa correspondent? You've come crawling back. That's not a real thing, by the way. Mad Shook says, morning, James. Can you give us your order of top Gordon replacements? Have Bowen. Foden. I think Palmer, timing-wise, is pretty good now as well. Garnacho, if you want to come down. There's not going to be anyone that I don't think I mentioned on this stream. I mean, like, please don't buy Mohamed Kudus at this stage, for example. I know a lot of people seem to be doing that. There's no guarantee he even plays this Tuesday. I think he will, by the way. But remember then, he's obviously off to AFCON himself. So for one game, just not worth it. Foden, if you can do it right now. I mean, Bowen, if you can do it. You said you've already got Foden then, if it's affordable. If you need to come down in value, then, to be honest, I just think Palmer at this moment. Gazman says, good morning, James. Watkins or Salah captain, in your opinion? Good luck this week. Top captaincy picks are on screen rotating with the predictions, mate. I've gone Salah. Colin Con says, smash a like. It's free. James, I'm on wildcard. Can you name the best 5 defenders under 5 million? One spot left. Under 5 million. Okay. Gusto. Gabriel's not in that line now, is he? Alex Moreno's 5, isn't he? So, Consa. I mean, at that value, probably Levi Colwell does fall into that as well. Is Stupinan, is he under or did he go up? If he's 4.9, then Stupinan has got to be a part of that, I think. Ibrahima Konate is one that looks like he's occasionally going to get rotated, but when he does, probably won't get on the pitch. So as long as you've got good bench cover. I don't hate Jan-Paul van Heck of Brighton actually at 4.0 in terms of saving money. You'd bench it most weeks and their fixtures are good enough long term till sort of the FA Cup quarterfinals that you'll probably feel okay about that. I don't think he's a bad one as like a 5th defender. Moore64 says, hello, should I bench boost Dubravka, Dallo, Gusto, Bailey, or wait for 12 or more players to double? For me, mate, you've got 3 outfield players of which none are certain to start. So it has to be a no. It's not improbable that Luke Shaw would be in and Dallo got a rest. I mean, probably go back to right back. Could it be Wan-Bissaka and Shaw? Yeah, sure. Gusto's not a certain starter. Leon Bailey's never a certain starter. Unfortunately, I would not be bench boosting with that in a single game week. If you had that and it was a double game week, I'd be like, yeah, sure, thumbs up, let's go. Alistair Hargroves says, bench Isak for Garnacho. No, probably not. I've got them right next to each other on the bench in dilemmas, and I've got Isak above him. So, Anton Phillips says, what do I do with Martinelli? He's first on my bench. Transfer for Bowen or roll? I'd probably just go to Bowen, mate. Yeah. Owen Wilson says, morning, James. Thoughts on Di Marzio, reliable Italian journalist, tweeting this morning that Tottenham and Chelsea are negotiating a fee for Gallagher. They want €40 million apparently. Would you like that signing? Yeah, I think it'd be great for us. Yeah, it's like his work ethic would be perfect to the high energy game that we want to play. As already said, and to be honest, I had this discussion with a friend of mine at the stadium last week, and he was like, what are Tottenham trying to do? Like, what have you heard and stuff? And I was like, look, first priority is going to be a centre-back. They want to get an attacker. But I said one to keep an eye on is Gallagher, because it's just too often that it's getting linked. He's getting linked with moves away. And we know that because he's an academy player, Chelsea could put 100% of the profit on the books. And they're looking dangerously close, like they're not going to qualify for Europe. Then this becomes a really big problem. This is what we always said. People, how are they spending the money? We're like, listen, it's okay, but they've got to get back into Europe, because if they don't have that new income stream coming in, they're going to have to sell some players. And he's one of the most valuable to them, because you can put 100% of the profit on the books. And as said, he doesn't want to leave Chelsea, I'm fairly certain. I'm fairly certain as a Chelsea fan, he won't want to go to Tottenham. And I'm certain that Pochettino doesn't want to lose him either, right? So, this, I've said this a few times. Gary Mantle's discussed this when he's come on COTC a couple of times. If that happens, and Conor Gallagher is sold by Chelsea to Tottenham, I don't want to say there's going to be a lot of really pissed off Chelsea fans. A lot. Especially if it's to Tottenham as well. But that headline doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. Tottenham are looking for that profile player. Chelsea are potentially looking to sell assets. And I heard that figure reported for as well, in my opinion, is cheap, actually. I think it's cheap in the modern market. Because I know it was going around a couple of weeks ago that Chelsea wanted £40 million, which is a little. It's is that more? Yeah, I think it is. Don't ask me on currency. And I said then, if that's all Chelsea want, he'll go, because someone will pay it. Colin Johnson says, morning James, 2 free transfers and a -4. Haaland to Alvarez, Lascelles to Trent, Gordon to Bowen, Faults. Yeah, that's a pretty good one, to be honest. All you got to do, Colin, is just, what happens if Mr. Robot's back fairly soon? Like, are you going back? That's all. That's all you got to do. You need to know your path back, right? And to be honest, you can go without next week. Like, if he's back for Newcastle, like, can you afford to go without? Yeah, and I probably will myself. Not Gameweek 22 though. I'm with Burnley. If he's back for that, so you need to know your path back. Dion, think about it as well. With Salah and Son not around in Gameweek 22, like, if he's back, how big is that captaincy going to be? It's going to be off the charts, mate. So you need to have that in mind. Dion Chung says, James, do you plan on holding, on to Solanke for his nice run of fixtures from Gameweek 27 onwards? It might depend what Liverpool do at Arsenal in a cup. I mean that honestly. I mean, if he was to stay for me all the way up to Gameweek 27, Solanke, then there's every chance he'd just stay for the season, right? Every chance. Gameweek 29, they're scheduled to play at Wolves. So, I mean, that could be very useful to cover the blank. Or it could be useful if they're going to have cut the double game weeks late in the season if the Bournemouth-Luton game's not in the immediate future. So, but I've said this a few times. He's obviously on an incredible run. He's a great option for this week. But I wouldn't go buying him new now. And I do think there is a case to be made that rather than buying, there is a case to sell. I don't recommend that anyone does that, but there is a case for it. Because the fixtures, actually, they're not great. I'd look at the 7. Tottenham away, Liverpool at home, West Ham away, Forest at home is obviously good. Fulham away, Newcastle away, Manchester City at home. Like, how much can he hurt? Like, is he going to tick over as like someone who's, probably scores 4 in 7 and worthwhile at his value? Yeah. But I think I've seen a lot of, I'm scared of him. Like, I wouldn't be, is my take. More 64, that's what we've done. Who's next? Sorry. Emma says, please bench one. Gabs, I presume, is Gabriel. Zinchenko or Senesi. Worried about Arsenal defence. Yeah, I'd still go to double Arsenal. I think Emma to be bad, to be honest. Are you mad for switching Saka out for Palmer? To be honest, I think most of us would actually quite like to sell Bukayo Saka at the moment. But it feels very difficult to justify because of Son and Salah and Arsenal's upcoming run of fixtures. Feels very difficult to justify. I mean, look, so let's just say he scored twice at Fulham tomorrow, right? Suddenly people will be talking about captaining him next week. Pratik says, but not mad, mate. Pratik says, play Gabriel or Pau. Well, we think Pau Torres is not going to start, so I would have started him. But Unai Emery said yesterday that he wasn't 100% fit and the intention was to play Clement Longley again. So I believe those words. And there's every chance Torres would come on as a one-pointer, right? So it's got to be Gabriel, really, I think. Unfortunately, I would have played Torres this week if Emery hadn't said that yesterday. Jonathan Nyman says, like the stream, folks, and a happy new year. Playing Morgan Gibbs White and benching Haaland one more week, saving for that big midfield reshuffle. Galazzo says, hey, James, Palmer for Son. Be less keen on doing that one right now, to be honest. game. Just having a check to see if we might have any Chelsea information. Not at the moment, as far as I can see. Not at the moment. There's still a lot of questions to go through, guys. If I've not covered your question, there's no point submitting a new question. I'm not going to get to it. Absolutely no chance, unfortunately. And I've completely lost my place in the thread now. I don't want to skip those. We're in first. Where are we? Right. Are you not thinking of bench boosting? No, mate, because I did it in game week 1. Project FPL 1, well, and I wouldn't do it without anyway. Like I said, Torres don't start, and I think there's every chance Gusto doesn't start, so it's a complete no-no. And I've got a shit goalkeeper this week on the bench. Carletso says, hey, James Palmer for Sun. That's what we've done. Project FPL on wildcard. What mid-5 would you have, and would you do Odegaard over Saka? For me personally, at this stage, the 5 I've got on screen, Saka would stay. I would probably still have Salah this week. So Son would go probably for Foden. Bowen would stay, and I'd probably be Palmer instead of Bailey, I think, at this stage. Cole Valencia says bench Saliba or White. Probably Saliba. Simon Kurtz says captain Palmer due to Luton's consistently bad expected goals conceded. Tell me I'm mad. No, I'm not mad, mate. Play it your way, mate. But is it consistently bad in home games? And has it been consistently... If so, has it been consistently bad recently because of the teams they've played in home games? Had some tough home games recently, right? So they've had Newcastle, City, Arsenal was the last 3 home games. Liverpool not long before that as well. I realised Palace created a decent XG against them when they went there as well. FPL Paul says, morning James, can you think of a player who will have a mini breakout from players ahead of them leaving on international duty? Thinking the likes of Jota, Buonanotte. Yeah, Jota I'd obviously mentioned. He's one... tempted to say like Richarlison, but I've kind of already bolted on that one, isn't it? So yeah, Jota feels like the one. That's opened the door. Another one maybe to throw in would be Pedro Neto, who's obviously coming back at the point that Hwang goes. So that might be one. Daniel Zamata says, hi James, Douglas Luiz and Cher for Foden and Gusto -4 hit or roll. I mean, Cher to Gusto if you're planning on starting Cher, probably. Otherwise, his role, I think, probably is more powerful. Richard M says, start Darwin or Douglas Luiz. Darwin, mate. I nearly said Douglas Luiz, but I meant Darwin. Jerry Dharma says, hi, James. Will you start Gabriel ahead of Powell? Yeah, it's on the screen, mate. I have one free transfer, 3.5 in the bank. Is Salah to Bowen or Flecken to Raya Areola? A go or roll? Roll, mate. Pete Haley says, hi, James. Who to play? Palmer or Solanke? Solanke. And Gabriel over Gusto is what I'm doing. Dion Chung, was there a deadline stream on Boxing Day? Yeah, there was meant to be, and it was set up, but unfortunately where I was, the internet packed in, mate. So, sorry. Literally, the stream was live, people was in the chat, and I just couldn't get it going, mate. Unfortunately. And yes, I wanted to smash the house up where I was, but I didn't. Rob Pick says, hey, mate, considering Cher or Livramento to Moreno from -4. Nah, not keen for the hit, mate. Andrew Sands says, morning James, can you promise me some wood or small bone without any FPL content for the next 2 weeks? Yeah, there'll be FPL content and there'll be some non-FPL content as well, mate. Adam says, sign 1, sub 1, sell 1, loan 1 out from Spurs. So we've got Romero, Son, Bissouma, Van der Ven. Sign 1, sub 1, sell 1, loan 1. Sign 1. Van der Ven. Loan 1 Romero to put him somewhere to sort his brain out. Loan Bissouma and sell Son. That will surprise, won't it? Gavin Richardson says Luis Semenyo to Foden Alvarez for -4, even if it means another -4 next week to move Son Salah. I mean, on the face of it, yeah, go for it, Gavin. Michael Scott says Gordon to Foden and bench Palmer, or Darwin to Alvarez and bench Gordon. The second one sounded better. Mustafa says, hi James, your stream is a lifesaver. Thanks. I don't know about that, man. I don't think I'm saving lives. We're about 5 minutes from deadline here, guys. If there's any Chelsea team news going about, I will share it. Patrons, if anyone's reporting anything, please give us a tag on Slack so I can share here with the audience. but there isn't anything confirmed at the moment. So look, I'm going to stick with Gabriel in the team rather than Gusto. Andrew Sands I've covered. Jay Porro. Sorry, it's Jay Porro or Walker on wildcard. Porro. Mer64, mate, how many times do you want me to answer it, mate? Repeat questions just get muted in here, mate. We don't hear from him again, unfortunately. Joey B93G says, morning, mate. Bring in Alvarez for Archer for free, then have to bench Palmer. Thanks. Thumbs up. Music Maestro says, hello, James. Hope you had a great Xmas. Spurs defence without Romero and Van der Ven is weak. Nearly everyone is playing Porro this week, but Bournemouth are the most informed team in the league. No one is playing Porro thinking of a clean sheet, mate. Jay Barker says, would you bring in Alvarez in for Haaland for free? It means benching one of Palmer, Garnacho, or Solanke, or just roll and have 2 free transfer over the bank. I'd get it done. Personally, I'd get it done. Bradley W. Iwobi to Hwang to bench Trippier or Roger. Can't be buying Hwang now. He's a minor doubt. He probably almost definitely starts, but he's a minor doubt. And he's going to the Asia Cup next week. You ain't buying Hwang now, mate. Fred says, morning, bench Darwin or Palmer. Prem Panicker says, 1 free transfer to bring in Foden or Bernardo to captain Foden. Homegrown to FPL, leave out one of Anderson, Saliba or Gabriel. Probably Anderson, just on the basis Palace has been a bit shit, even though I fancy him for a clean sheet. Jay Barker says, also play 8 Nori or Gusto. Thanks, James. Oh, it's a tough one. 8 Nori, I think. Project FPL says, would you bench Odegaard or Palmer? Tough, that. Palmer. Penguin says, hi James, hope all is well. I have Watkins and Solanke. Would you replace one of them with Alvarez? If so, which one? I have 2 free transfers. My other option is to replace Lascelles with Gusto. I'd probably replace Lascelles, mate. Tim Lum says, hey James, been a while. I think if I make a late transfer, it'd be Son to Bowen or Foden. Only 1 free transfer, not enough to do Gordon to either in 1. I think I may hold, even though I'm tempted to get Foden now. Good luck, Tim, whatever you decide. Mustafa says, currently on Solanke captain, tempted to captain Kudos. I don't think you can captain Kudos. I would have had him on the top 10. I don't think you can captain him just because David Moyes said yesterday that like he couldn't even be certain that he'd play, right? So, I mean, look, you could vice captain someone. I would say go sensible, something like Watkins that plays today, for example. You could do it, but is it worth it? Adam says, with Dunks Yellow have no captaincy for final game day before over, will have 27 transfers left with money in the bank. Worth a move or skip. See how you feel on Tuesday, and potentially, go for the upside of the captaincy on Bowen or Kudos. Paulie G says, you'll obviously see the team. Paulie G says, Gordon to Bernardo or Darwin to Alvarez. Adrian says, have you forgotten Solanke on the captaincy picks? No, mate, this is what I said. A lot of people will actually be wanting to captain him this week. Do we want to sit back and think about that a little bit, though? No, I definitely haven't forgotten him, mate. He's third on the bench in dilemmas, never mind the captaincy picks, mate. Andrew Sands says, long-term view, will there be a trend to use wildcard too early to get Son, Salah, etc. back? But the fixed swings in game at 30, 31 are so good for Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Newcastle. If you had to pick when to wildcard now, when would you? Game week 31. KC Wolf says, hi James, defender recommendation please. I'm surely given enough during the course of this stream, mate. Tim Rogers says, good morning James, have a great weekend. Hit the like button on the way out, people. We are 1 minute from deadline, guys, as far as I can see. No information currently on a potential leak of a Chelsea lineup as far as I've seen. Or anyone else for that matter, but I'm guessing Haaland won't play. Mer60, oh god, mate, seriously, just like stopping other people from having their questions covered, mate. DM me on Twitter if you don't like the fact you've been muted. It's just repeat questions, just do my head in. Like, once enough, literally read the pinch rate. I'll either get to your question or I won't. That is deadline, guys. Josh Tellin says, hey, James, no question for today. Just wanted to thank you again for all your content in 2023. Wish you all the best for 2024. Smash a like on the stream, people. Thank you, Josh. And I echo the sentiments back to you and to all the viewers on YouTube. I wish you all a very, very happy new year. If anybody came just for the FPL stuff, smash a like, hit the sub button. Enjoy your weekend. Happy New Year. See you soon. If anybody's got non-FPL questions, feel free to smash them in the chat and I'll cover them off over the next 10-15 minutes or so. Content, be back on Tuesday. We are both going to take New Year's Day off. I'm going to spend some time with the fam. So we'll be back on Tuesday, which also means we can take in Liverpool Newcastle as part of our game week review. So game week review podcast will be on Tuesday. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football, where we're going to have a deep dive look at the fixtures specifically for Sky Fantasy Managers. Thursday's clash of correspondents, as said a little bit earlier, will be Bournemouth versus Liverpool with Neil Grover and Dan Lord. Friday will be an Ask James stream. Our Patreon podcast next week for intermediate plus tier patrons and above will be Q&A will be on Tuesday. Tottenham on Wednesday, which, subject to our Tottenham do tomorrow, is probably more likely to be more of a lengthy West Ham one, and we'll review the West Ham Brighton game on that podcast on Wednesday. Thursday will be Money in Football on Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos's minority purchase of Manchester United Football Club. And on Friday, we're going to do a bit of an FA Cup preview, and I'm going to kind of clarify some of the permutations of what some of the potential results might mean from an FPL perspective. So you can be aware before that's happened. We'll look at some of the potential permutations before that. And we'll have a general discussion about the FA Cup as well and what it means to us at this stage, right? The love affair seems to be diluting somewhat. Right, that's the podcast. There will be more additional content for advanced tier patrons this week as well. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Do it because you want to support the show and give thanks for perhaps some of the free stuff, or because you just want the additional content. No one in Patreon promises to make you a better FPL manager. We might even make you worse. I know that's all anyone really cares. But yeah, but does he make us a better FPL manager? I can't do that, mate, because you press the buttons, not me. Right. Good luck, everyone. Let's see what we got non-FPL stuff coming in. Static says, are you watching the AEW pay-per-view tonight? No, I won't. Can't be staying up for wrestling events anymore, mate. I wouldn't even know what channel it was on either. I wouldn't even know for an AEW paper. I wouldn't even know what channel it was on. I date Kate Moss. Congratulations. Says cheers, James. Happy New Year, you too. Danelius says thank you. Welcome. Relic returns. Who will win the Premier League? Nice, easy one. If you'd have asked me on Wednesday, I would have said Arsenal. To be honest, it was the last 20 minutes of City's performance kind of got my interest back. That was the Manchester City at its best that I know. You just look like you can't get the ball off them. So, big little period here for both teams. Like if City win at Newcastle, you've got to fancy them, I think, because I think they'll do well enough in the other fixtures around it. And Arsenal and Liverpool playing each other in 23. Arsenal and Liverpool still absolutely well capable. Well capable. It is a three-way race at the moment. I'm sorry, Villa fans, it's not going to be you. Right, who's next? Ryan says, good luck, everyone. Emma says, cheers, James. Happy New Year to you too. FPL Golglet, so good morning, FPL Top Advisor. Have a smashing game with New Year. Smash the like button, you mags. Cheers, mate. Peter G says, hi, James. Sky question. No Captain Tuesday. Should I skip or bring Bowen in? I kind of just covered it, Peter, for someone else, right? See how you feel on Tuesday. But I think there's probably enough upside in a West Ham attacker that I'd probably do it. That said, I'm thinking in my mind now, if Bowen got injured for some reason and wasn't available, would I buy Kudos instead? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably let it go. Pip says, who's getting promoted to the Premier League this season with Ipswich slipping? Looks like Leicester, Saints and Leeds for me. It was going to be one of Ipswich, Southampton or Leeds, isn't it? And Leicester look like they're going to pull away, I think, by the looks of it. Another really good result last night. Atsu Balaji says, Happy New Year, James. What percentage chance does Luton have for staying up according to you? Oh, can't say I'd ever sat back and thought about a percentage. 25%, I'd say. I think that's a reasonable estimate. Penguin says, Happy New Year to you, Serge Clayton and the team. No doubt the best FPL content online. Thank you, mate. Thomas Powell says, what's your top 3 king items? The chicken, the chips and the Coke. Jonathan says, Celtic Rangers on later. I wouldn't have even known. Really. Celtic Rangers on later today. Did you ever want them in the Premier League when there was talk about them joining years ago? No, not really. No. Look, would they add to the competition? Yes, eventually, because they're 2 giant football clubs. So eventually, yes, but there's no guarantee of that, is it? You look at sort of like where Leeds are at the moment and stuff like that. There's no guarantee that being a big club's going to, you're going to do this, that and the other. So, no, not really. No. It kind of always bothered me a little bit that the Welsh teams were in it. It has, honestly. It does bother me a little. I think playing your pyramid, but I get it. I get why that happens. And there'll be people saying, well, so Rangers are way outgrown Scottish football. Yeah, cool. I can't see it ever happening, to be honest. I think there would have been a kind of a want for it in like the early noughties when you'd looked and Celtic Rangers are arguably as good as many of the Premier League teams. Certainly in the 90s and then the early noughties, it was a very fair debate to have that. I can't see from the Premier League's perspective where there'd be a want for it now, whereas to add to the brand back then, maybe it could have been a thing. FPL Eze says, thoughts on Palace at the moment. Is it bad? A lot of Palace fans wouldn't mind a loss today if it means Roy goes and we get Cooper in to work with talented youngsters. Yeah, I'd never be keen on your own team losing. And what if you lose today? That what guarantees that he's going to go? Does it? Don't think it's that black and white. Palace have actually had a tough run of fixtures, as Roy said himself the other day. So I don't think there's any guarantee there would be a change, mate. So, I mean, I think that game's pretty big. You should be trying to win it. I actually think you will. I date Kate Moss. What's your genuine long-term view on Pochettino? You said beginning of the season that he needed time, but we still seem to lack identity at New. I presume that's meant as New Year. It's got to be NY. I'm still in for him, but interested in your view now. I always said, it kind of as you mentioned, give it 3 months in pre-season. It might take a while to see shit come through. So you're now about to approach into month 5, and I think there's still concern. I don't know why. The fullback thing bothers me, right? I think about his Tottenham team and like Walker and Rose, and then even Trippier and Davis as understudies as well, like flying up the wing and stuff. Such a vibrant team at Tottenham, and you'd think that Chelsea have been targeting so many profile of young players, etc., that you'd almost just would have thought he'd be perfect for it. And yet his tactics seem quite negative a lot of the time, and I don't understand. Like, I thought the Tottenham Manchester City week with the win at Tottenham on the Monday night, and then the 4-4 against Man City, which was a brilliant game, and I thought, oh yeah, it's clicking. And it's just not gone on for, and that's probably the concerning bit. It probably for there's a light bulb moment, and it's not really kicked on from there. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I'm beginning to be of the opinion that it probably won't work out. I know he's a good manager. I've no doubt about that. But I think he's probably doing some things that are alienating a little bit of the fan base. That there was always going to be a minority or a group of Chelsea fans that were not going to take to him because of his Tottenham connections in any case. So, do I think sacking him is the right answer? No, not at all. Not at all. But I think, the next 5 are big, right? Luton away, Fulham at home, Wolves at home, Crystal Palace away, with the Liverpool away game sandwiched in between. Now, if Chelsea are still knocking about at sort of 10th at the end of that 5-game stretch, then Europe's going to be very, very difficult with the fixture run that they've got afterwards, which includes trips to Manchester City and Arsenal would be 2 of the next 5, and trip to Brentford and home games with Tottenham and Newcastle. So I think these next few games are massive for them. And if the next 5 goes wrong and Chelsea fans are looking at going into Gameweek 26, in which they may well be participating in a Carabao Cup final, so that would probably also help. But then say if they lost the final and it was bleak in the league and let's say they were out the FA Cup as well, I wouldn't be hugely shocked if there was a change at that stage. But I don't think that's the solution right now. I do actually think Chelsea will do quite well over these next 4 or 5 fixtures. Arguably, their best player is about to be integrated into the team in Christopher Nkunku, which they haven't had available. So I think they should stick with, and I think they should probably ride out the season either way. If Chelsea are in September, October, and Chelsea fans are feeling no more positive about him, then there'll be a change. So, yeah, there'll be pressure. I know it's long. When they got Potter in, it was like, this is going to be the manager for 5 years. Probably what they thought Pochettino as well. But you don't just stick with something for the sake of just sticking with something. But I do think if they sacked him right now, that would be a shock. A real shock. Who's next? I seem to have lost a load of questions. Savio says, Watkins or Alvarez captain, 100 and tooth on Sky Fantasy, 23 transfers left. I'd probably punt it at Alvarez, maybe. It's close, that. Very close. I'll be on Watkins today because I don't have him. So I don't have that difficult decision. Pip says, what sort of music are you into, James? Favourite album of the year? Album of the year. I couldn't even name you an album, a single album of anybody this year, honestly. So if I listen to a bit of music, I tend to more go back to like my youth and listen to stuff from late 90s and the early noughties. Some of like the new metal stuff I used to listen to. Or stuff like Prodigy or Faithless. Linkin Park, Evanescence, those sort of things was my jazz when I was kind of late teens, 20s. So if I actually am listening to something music-wise, it's probably going to be something like that I end up listening to. Radiohead as well, Metallica. Yeah, very much kind of late 90s, early noughties. I'd just go back to that. I don't think I can name you a song this year. Never mind an album. I wouldn't have a clue. Will Shaw says, would you rather watch all the games from Arsenal's best season or Spurs' worst season? Spurs' worst season. We'd just laugh about it. Rhett says, Dad Corner, how's Harry doing post-Christmas? Yeah, it's good. He said to me last night, I went to bed and he woke up and he said, I see ghosts in the window. Oh, no. He's doing good. I think he enjoyed Christmas. I mean, it was probably a little bit overwhelming, the amount of stuff he got on that. So, yeah, he's on good form at the moment. I don't know how happy he'll be to go back to school in a couple of weeks, but yeah, he's on good form. Thanks for asking. Andrew Gronin says, David Moyes just can't help lying in a press conference, can he? He expects us to believe he doesn't know if AFCON players can play this way. Look, my understanding, Andrew, was that the players who had games on January the 2nd could play, and that was the end of it. That was my understanding. And it's only his comments yesterday that's put doubt into that, to be honest. Ragav says, if Gallagher is sold to Spurs, should that be the last straw with the ownership and its intentions? Yeah, but what are Chelsea fans going to do, right? Wasn't part of the deal that with the Bali Clearlet ownership, wasn't part of the deal that they had to own the club for at least 10 years to make sure that they weren't just spinning it for profit? I think that was part of the deal. So, like, you're stuck with these guys, right? So, but yeah, I mean, Gary said this a few times. It's like, if that sort of thing happens, the anger isn't going to be at Pochettino. Pochettino doesn't want to lose the player if that's what would happen. The anger would be with the owners. And you have to remember, there'll be a lot of people on the outside will obviously disagree, but they obviously loved their previous owner, right? From their perspective, all he did for Chelsea was good, right? So if the new owners come in, you're like, hang on, this is now bad, ironically spending a lot more than the previous owner at the same time, but the strategy's been bad. You couldn't say that they don't come in for criticism, right? I mean, if they were to finish like where they are in the league again, there has to be criticism for the ownership of the football club, as much as the manager has to be. Penguin says, James, you may remember you sent me Levy's email regarding Spurs scouting players in Colombia. I'll DM you on this and doing a channel in Spanish this week. I think you'll be interested. I can't speak Spanish, mate, but absolutely feel free, mate. Atul Balaji says, lots of top level midfielders in the league right now. Is Lamina in the top 5 for all-round midfield game. Now, I'm going to caveat this by saying that Attal is a Wolves fan. Other than Rodri and Rice, there's not one I don't think I'd exchange him for. Okay, mate. Well, I've got two at Tottenham I'd rather have in Basuma and Bentancur. I really like Mario Lemina. I do have a concern that he goes into football clubs. I've said this a few times. He seems to have a great year and then fall off a cliff. And listen, today obviously wish him well. He's obviously had to fly back to France for personal reasons. So he's not going to play for Wolves today, almost certainly. And I think he's been great, like in terms of form and stuff, playing really, really well at the moment. But would I put him ahead of Guimaraes, for example? No, like top 5. No, I don't think so, mate. Personally, but I really like him. I like him when he's at it. Let's see if it can be consistent for a longer period now. Bald being counted. Roy Hodgson just does not inspire any belief. Just look at him. Excuse me. Yeah, but to be honest, when I first looked at my wife, I didn't see a wife. Static, non-FPL says, thoughts on Solanke to Spurs? Sure, yeah, why not? I mean, I really do like Dominic Solanke as a player, sure. FPL Gold Galazzo says, if Salah left Liverpool, your top replacement for him. I like Leroy Sané, but your choice. Look, I don't watch enough continental football. What I can tell you, though, is that Jurgen Klopp really, really likes Jarrod Bowen. I know he signed a new contract at West Ham fairly recently and said he wanted to stay for life, but I think that would be Liverpool's first call, would be Jarrod Bowen. Andrew Gronit says, I believed in him when he was laughing in Pep's face. See, there you go. Attal says, what are your thoughts on the Gallagher deal if it happens? Does it bother you that he's a Chelsea fan and coming from Chelsea? I think he'd be a brilliant sign if you... No, it wouldn't bother me, mate. But there's been way too many circumstances happening now where... Look, footballers, it's a career, right? Footballers aren't like me and you necessarily, right? Where... Like, you know, oh, would you go and play if you're right? No. But I don't know, I'm not in that circumstance with the money being offered, etc. I suppose if he's being told, he'll probably get it sold to him. Like, he's like, you've got to go or we're in trouble as a football club. So if you love us, you better go. Like, would I have a problem with it? The fact he's played? No, not at all. Not at all. It might be, if he came and he really underperformed, then I think it's the sort of thing that get labelled at him. But I just think the guy works too hard and it's in his nature that I just don't think it'd be a problem. I don't. Kate Moss says, at Man City game, I was thinking this is the turning point. It hasn't turned. It's torturous. I think if James and Chilwell were fit, it might be different, but agree, next 5-6 games are huge, yeah. Owen Walsh says, thanks to you, James, and all the Planet FPL crew. Happy New Year. Look forward to some more top content. We will do our best, mate. Thank you. Rhett says, which one non-Spurs player in the Prem would thrive in Ange's system? Can we say Conor Gallagher at the moment? For me, it's a name I've said several times. I over said it's probably going to be a boring one, Mitoma. Relic returns to, did James just compare his wife to Roy Hodgson? Possibly. Jojo says, feel free to send link to that. I can be your translator and interpreter, James. Can finally use that Spanish and Portuguese degree. Remember, Nico obviously speaks Portuguese. Penguin says, Happy New Year, mate, and all the best for you and your family in 2024. I haven't heard Harry giggly on your streams for a while. Time flies so much. Spend as much time with him as you can, and I do, mate. I absolutely do, which includes the majority of the next 3 days, actually. So, like, even tomorrow, I'll go to the game and I'll come home. Right, lots of love. Jojo says, Happy New Year. Thank you, my friend. Have a great New Year, everyone. Smash a like on your way out. Have a great weekend. Happy New Year, as said. Me and Suj will be back with the Game Week review podcast for you on Tuesday. Good luck, everyone. Happy New Year. Have a great weekend.